Hello, and good afternoon to you. I've got another episode of Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives. I am your host, Ray Hazlip, and I have a quick one today for you, all you lovely people out there listening right now. What we're going to talk about today is we are going to spend this entire episode talking about Games Pass and Microsoft's foray into the world of game streaming. Not just Microsoft's foray into it, but really just the idea and concept of game streaming. Here's the thing about Games Pass that I've never liked. And I've said that I know I'm beating an almost dead horse. I have never said a positive thing about Games Pass on this particular podcast. Or maybe I have said some positive things on the Unscripted Gaming podcast. Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. I never thought it made sense. Ever. I always thought, like, this is a bad idea. This is eventually just going to simply crash, and it's going to drag a lot of people down with it. And, you know, at the time, when they first started using Game Pass, I was working in the games industry as a private developer, working at different studios. And every time they mentioned, should we put this game on Games Pass, the answer for most people that were developers were like, probably not. Like, let's put it on other things if possible. Like, we're not a Microsoft. I've never worked for a Microsoft studio before, so it was never a question of should we do it. It was more a question of, well, it was never a question of we have to do it. It was more of a question of should we do it. And normally the answer, if we could help it, was no. So let's talk about Games Pass and why it led to the gigantic Xbox reset that we are seeing today. And you can ultimately blame a lot of what has happened to Microsoft in the last decade on Game Pass. All of it. I'm not joking. There's an article published by Bloomberg today. It was sent to me by a colleague. They sent a gift article. I really appreciate that. I won't say their name. They probably don't want me to say their name. But if they hear this podcast, I do appreciate the gift article. It was a great read, and I'm cribbing a lot from it. And I want to talk a lot about it because it confirms a lot of the priors that I had. And it was just published July 7th. The title of the article on Bloomberg is Behind Xbox Big Layoffs and a Streaming Strategy That Failed. I won't read the article word for word. What we're going to do is talk about some of the key points. So in case you hadn't heard, last Monday, on the 6th of July, 2026, Asha Sharma, the relatively new CEO of Xbox Games Division, no longer Microsoft Games Division, Xbox Game Division, said that they are laying off 20% of their entire division. 3,200 people. 1,600 that day, 1,600 before the middle of 2027. So fiscal year 2027. Not great. Really bad. Really, really bad. And when you dig into the details of why this had to happen, I will give her credit in her missive of why they were laying off so many people. She says point blank, the business is not healthy. And they are facing the most severe hardware crisis in history. Let it be known, she used to work for part of the AI division of Microsoft, so ma'am, you're part of the problem. I said that before in the last podcast, but it is worth repeating, like, hey, we're having a hardware crisis. Yeah, you should know why. Like, this shouldn't be a mystery to you. So here's the thing with Game Pass. When Microsoft launched Game Pass in 2017, they had an internal goal of the number of people they wanted to subscribe to Game Pass. and the goal was an extremely high number. The highest level tier for the service was $20 a month. That was the Microsoft Ultimate Game Pass tier. Everyone called it, and I quote, the best deal in gaming. Like, it's finally here, the Netflix of gaming. You get access to thousands of games. And me, who in 2017 was kind of a baby associate producer for a live service company, part of my job is crunching numbers to make sure the numbers line up and, paychecks keep rolling in. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. How are they doing that? Are they just funneling money into this and hoping that they get a bunch of people to subscribe? I guess that could work if they get like 100 million people to subscribe. And I was told that they did have 100 million people subscribe. I was told that repeatedly. I think my co-host Josh mentioned a couple times that they had like 100 million people subscribe. And I was always thought like, I'm not checking that number right now because normally I would be busy making a different point or doing something else. But I was like, that can't be right. That seems too high. It was too high. Their goal was by end of 2026, or at least close to second quarter 2026, to have 77 million subscribers. That was their goal, their internal goal. As of quarter 2, 2026, they have 30 million subscribers. By the way, that's actually down from quarter 4, 2025, when they had 34 million subscribers. The reason why it went down by about 11% is because Phil Spencer, in his genius and his admin, they raised the price of Game Pass in October 2025. I think it was October. No, it was last summer of 2025. And that caused 11% of everyone that subscribed to it to just end their subscription. They're like, you know what? That's good enough. We're done. Whew. And they went away. And I guess Phil Spencer, I don't know why he did that, but I guess he saw like the writing on the wall and said like, okay, we need to squeeze as much money from whoever's remaining as possible because this is not working. But tell you what, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're getting really far ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to 2017, okay? Bloomberg is reporting that internal employees were very concerned that they would not be able to reach the 77 million number. And they were also very concerned that the number of subscribers that they were asking for was not going to be congruent with the amount of money that they were going to make to pay off the massive big bets that Phil Spencer was making. Phil Spencer, part of his making big bets was that he wanted this to be the Netflix of video games. And what Netflix did in the before times, for those of you that might be a little bit younger listening, back in 2007, 2008, near some of the good times of Netflix, what they did was they didn't have access to brand new movies, much like Game Pass wanted access to brand new video games. No, they had access to like 10, 15, 20-year-old movies and TV shows and said like, hey, you want to watch some old movies and TV shows as opposed to renting them from Blockbuster? Here you go. We got the licenses for them. I'll tell you what, had Game Pass been that, had it been a service where they only offered, hey, you can play old Xbox games, or you could play old PC games. You could play all these games that we got the licenses for. Like 5, 10-year-old games. It might have worked. That's not what they wanted. They wanted brand new video games, which are a lot more expensive than getting the licensing for old games. You still can play older games on Game Pass, but they tried to scale it up and say, no, Netflix offers new shows, so we need to offer new games. Like, Netflix had to work up to that. They didn't start off that way. That took years to get there. That took 6+ years to get there. Anyways, there was growing concerns inside the company that the number of Game Pass subscribers had peaked in about 2023 or something like that. 2023, 2024. They felt that, all right, we are tapped. We cannot get subscribers. We cannot get more. We're not going to get more. Here's a fun fact. Did you know during that time, I actually did look up this number because I was talking with my co-host on Unscripted Gaming about it. At that time, Sony PlayStation, they also offer a subscription service. It's called PlayStation Plus. It costs $60 a month. $60 a year. And they had 60 million subscribers to it. At the same time as Microsoft had about 34 million subscribers to Games Pass. Pricing is very different. $20 per month for the Ultimate version, or $9.99 for the cheap PC version. That's normally whenever I touched into it, I normally would get that for a month. But still, there were more people, and still are more people on PlayStation Plus than there are Game Pass by double. So it's a lot. So they have that passive income constantly coming in. Now, when Microsoft announced that they were going to do Games Pass, they also bought up a bunch of studios. They bought up a bunch of indie studios. They bought Ninja Theory, they bought Double Fine, they bought Obsidian. They eventually bought ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion. In 2021, I do believe they started the acquisition for Activision because they wanted the Call of Duty people, Activision Blizzard, who also Activision Blizzard merged with King, so they would also get the game Candy Crush to enhance their mobile line. I'm sorry, they started that in 2023. They bought ZeniMax Media, who owns Bethesda, for $7.5 billion in 2021. So in 2023, they finalized the purchase of Activision Blizzard King for $70 billion. And that is just $70 billion just to purchase the company. That's not including the lawyer fees, all the legal fees that they had to do to go ahead and secure that. You could probably easily add on another billion to that. So you could say $71 billion. It doesn't matter. It's an insane amount of money. At the time, it was literally 3% of the entire valuation of all of Microsoft was spent buying Activision Blizzard King. I've said before, so their goal here is to buy the Call of Duty people so that they could put Call of Duty on Game Pass legally as part of their purchase of Activision Blizzard for $70 billion. I can't stress how much money that is. That's an absurd amount of money for any company to try to spend on another company that, I'm being realistic, just makes video games. And they want to put it on Game Pass. I said that is a horrendous idea. That is an awful idea. Oh my gosh. That is such a... I feel like I have the text messages when I was texting a bunch of my friends saying, like, this is one of the worst decisions I think I've seen a company make in a long time. The purpose of Game Pass is to pay for games monthly. You pay monthly to get access to games. The people that buy Call of Duty are going to buy Call of Duty. You're basically going to give it to them for free. The Venn diagram of people that buy Call of Duty and the people that have Games Pass is a circle. What are we doing? And, whatever. Might as well have been old man shouting at clouds. Well, yeah, anyways, in 2024, they launched the first Call of Duty game on Game Pass. And normally they would have charged $60, $70 for it. Nope. They launched Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And internally, by a person that asked to be anonymous, reported to Bloomberg, the Xbox game division lost $300 million in sales, estimated, because they launched it on Game Pass. And that money is never coming back. because everyone that wanted to play Call of Duty Black Ops 6, they played it on Game Pass. They played it for like the normal amount of time people play Call of Duty, which is like a couple months, and then they stopped. That wasn't new money coming in. Like, say you have a person that paid, I guess at that time it would be $30 a month or $20 a month. We'll say $20 a month. You have the person that paid $20 a month. They played it for 3 months, right? They didn't get game. They didn't subscribe to Game Pass just to play Call of Duty. They already had Game Pass. That revenue was already secured. So to them, by their logic, the consumer logic, they're basically playing Call of Duty for free. Normally, they would have had to spend another $70 on top to get Call of Duty. In 2024, 82% of all of the sales of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was on the PlayStation 5. Or PlayStation hardware, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. The other 18% was on Microsoft. Because there still were some people who were like, I just want to buy the game. Fine, whatever. That was seen as a colossal waste of resources and colossal missed opportunity. And I feel like you could have seen it a mile away. As a matter of fact, Bloomberg reports some people familiar with the situation were saying that, yes, a lot of people internally did see it coming. They're not sure why Phil Spencer did this. I couldn't tell you. I don't know why. They said there were people internally, Microsoft, once again reporting on anonymity to Bloomberg, saying that when the Activision Blizzard King deal closed for, again, $70 billion, there were people internally saying, we are not able to get more subscribers. We are tapped. We are facing difficulties. Everybody that knows about Xbox Game Pass or want to play it on the PC Game Pass, they have it. We're not getting more people. Spending more money is not going to secure more revenue. We are throwing good money after bad. I will give credit to Phil Spencer because he does give us some numbers. Apparently in 2022, he said that currently Microsoft loses between $100 and $200 for every single Microsoft Xbox console they sell. So they were selling the consoles at a severe loss because the Xbox Series S was at the time $300 and the Xbox Series X was $500. So they were selling them at the Xbox Series X, they were selling it at a 40% loss per console. And that's money you're never getting back, ever. What was the solution to that? I don't know. Find a way to make the console cheaper. I have no idea what the solution of that should have been. But apparently now that Asha Sharma is in charge, and over the last year, they've just been raising the price of the Xbox Series X to where it is now, which is about $800. It was $500 when it first came out. That's... Ooh. And supposedly Project Helix will be about $1,000 when it comes out. Minimum. They're saying $1,000 is anticipate that it'll probably be higher. Oh boy. Nobody wants to pay $1,000 for a video game console in 2026. I'm sorry. Like, look outside. If you take all AI tech out of our economy, we are actually in a huge recession right now. I don't think anyone is going to argue with that. And if you do want to argue with that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It must be really nice to be in that massive bubble. It just must be. Also, they were extremely hands off when it came to managing the games studios that they bought for Game Pass. Again, I got no hate for the people at Compulsion Games, but it shouldn't take 8 years to release one video game. This was Microsoft being extremely hands-off of like, okay, we'll just let them do. You guys just take as long as you need. Like, no, you're the business managers. You're supposed to make sure that they take a reasonable amount of time. You're paying them after all. Like, what? All video games have to ship at a specific time because eventually you do run out of money. I guess they missed that part. Something else I want to point out. I've heard repeatedly throughout the years that the best way Microsoft is making its money back is on PC Games Pass, so that they're tapping into that sweet PC player base, charging them $9.99. Now I think it's $14.99. Now it's $16.49. I don't know what the new price is of Game Pass. I stopped looking at it. I don't care. I could probably look it up right now, but showing how much I don't care, it shows how much I'm not looking it up right now. But Microsoft console sales, like the games that people buy for their consoles, makes up 80% of Microsoft gaming business. This is coming from powerupgaming.co.uk. 80% of all of the company's revenue is just coming from people buying a console and buying a video game from the console, not PC Game Pass. PC Game Pass is nice to have if you're a consumer, but for the company of Microsoft, specifically their Xbox division, it's a distraction. It's giving them 20% extra revenue, and when you actually factor in how much they're losing because people aren't buying the game, it's probably costing them. What Asha Sharma says is they want to go ahead and return to Microsoft exclusives because the Game Pass experiment is not working. My words, not hers. Her words were they do want to return to exclusives. And I am wondering how they're going to do the whole thing about return to exclusives when they recently just laid off an extreme amount of people. Like speaking of Game Pass again, and this is what the entire episode is about, Doom: The Dark Ages. All right, that game came out last summer. I actually haven't played it yet. I want to play it. I just didn't want to spend $70 on it. Maybe I should get a Game Pass subscription and play it through there. I don't know. That might be better. Now that I'm thinking about it, it would save me from spending $70. I don't know. But yeah, that's the only reason I haven't bought it, because I said I want to play Doom: The Dark Ages, but I don't want to spend $70 on it. I'll wait till it goes on sale. Maybe I'll buy it on my PS5. Who knows? That game had 2 to 3 million people playing that game. And I say playing, not purchasing, playing it, because they released it day and day on Game Pass. That is 2 to 3 million people that did not spend $70 on that game. That's 2 to 3 million people that were already paying for Game Pass that played that game. And it's a single player, action, somewhat narrative focused game. So once you play it and beat it, you really don't have that much of a reason to return to it. I think there's a multiplayer mode. I don't know. I don't care. I didn't care about the multiplayer mode in the last 2 Doom games either. So you do the math. How many millions upon millions of dollars did they just... By the way, it's like 140 million to 210 million that they just did not get because people didn't buy it. And that money is never coming back. Like, the people that have played it, they've played it. They're done with it. It's gone. And because of that, I would be willing to wager a bet because of that, in the recent round of layoffs that Microsoft did, id Software got hit the hardest. Of a studio of about 180 people, 136 were laid off. There's rumblings inside saying that they've been reduced to a support studio because there's no way with 50 people they can make a giant AAA game. And that sounds correct. They laid off people that have been at that company for 20 years. all because their Game Pass experiment failed and they needed to get the books corrected. And so they just started laying people off and not really thinking, in my opinion, not really thinking about how they're doing it. I know it probably feels nice. I'm going to steal a phrase from Lawrence Sontag from Inside Gaming. I know it must feel nice to just lay off a bunch of people, but you didn't close the studio, so you could say, ha, I'm the CEO that didn't close the studio. It's like, well, you left them bleeding on the side of the street. Like, no, you didn't kill them, but they are dying. It's horrible. It's also kind of, in a business sense, really, really fascinating that over the last 10 years, for as much credit that people were saying that Phil Spencer was doing to revive Microsoft, in the background, he just had a shotgun full of money and was just blasting out everywhere. And he was the CEO. What could people do to stop him? I'm sure that some people tried. After reading this Bloomberg article, I am now convinced that many people tried to say, dog, you need to rein it in. This is not working. And he probably just either didn't listen or he felt like he knew what he was doing and he thought better of it. Which is a shame. Oh, yeah, and they tried to refactor it a little bit better. They tried to say, well, we need to go ahead and get way more people on Game Pass. I have an idea. What about the Everything is an Xbox campaign? Gosh, that was bad. Thank you, Sarah Bond, who was formerly the right-hand person for Phil Spencer. That I'm convinced she was actually fired, not just resigned or laid off. I think she was actually like straight up fired because she was no longer a part of the company almost the same day that Phil Spencer said he was resigning. That leads me to believe, like, I don't think she left that position willingly. Yeah, she started the Everything's an Xbox campaign, and that campaign is, hey, your phone is an Xbox, your laptop is an Xbox. Factoring in the fact that Microsoft, 80% of their business was coming from just console sales and not PC sales, that was a gamble. Definitely a gamble. Did not pay off. As a matter of fact, when Asha Sharma came in, apparently she went out of their way to like completely nuke from orbit the Everything is an Xbox campaign. Probably for the better. Yeah. So what have we learned? I just got back into listening to the podcast. Well, there's your problem. And I love always the ending. Roz always asks, so what did we learn? That there is no such thing as a Netflix of gaming. I'm sorry, there isn't. If a company valued at $3 to $4 trillion, depending on what day it is, can't figure it out, I don't think it's gonna exist. People don't play video games like they watch Netflix. I watched Netflix earlier today. There's an anime that came out. I wanted to give it a shot because someone recommended it to me. And while I was watching that, it was an anime that was dubbed. I watched it. It took me an hour to watch 2 episodes, and I said, cool. But later on, when I play a video game, I am locked in. I might be listening to a podcast, but I will spend like an hour and a half playing that game. And that is a completely different experience versus watching a show on Netflix. Also, being very honest with you, the media that gets on Netflix is way cheaper than a single piece of media of a video game. It just is. It's just way, way, way cheaper for licensing. So it's not the same. You can't just force you can't just force a service to have thousands upon thousands of different forms of media and hope that it all works and that you're going to make all your money back. Unless it's like classic forms of media, that's not going to work. And even then, the licensing for that has to be a nightmare. And I will admit, it is exhausting. It is exhausting. So tell you what, we're going to have the commercials for this show on the back end of this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you. I hope you all have yourselves a fine weekend. Hey, if you like sci-fi books, check out my sci-fi books that I've written. They're written by Ray Hazlett. Go ahead and go to Amazon and type it in, or go to any place where you could purchase books. You'll be able to buy it there. And please stay tuned. We do have episodes of Unscripted Gaming coming up soon. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe. Bye. Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee, and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee, and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back to the environment. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were. Maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount. When you are at the checkout, enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlett sent you. All right?